all the genders. When I say all the genders, then it exceeds male and females. They are transgender as well. And for increasing population and better standard of living, we need growth. And when we see growth, that's an economic growth which is very important. And I see economic growth is the sole determinant of welfare. Is it or is it not is a big question. Because when we see all the social sectors, we do not have the unbalanced growth, we do not have the balanced growth, we do not have the inclusive growth. So if we have a balanced or inclusive growth, then it translates directly into the social sector, and that includes the gender equality, gender empowerment. But if we do not have inclusive or unbalanced or balanced growth, then we do have discrepancies in the social sector as well as in the gender inequalities and empowerment. So the question is whether what kind of gender inequalities or equality is important. Investment is very important, and investment in human capital is very important. So investment in human capital is very essential for sustainable growth. If it is not, then it is unsustainable. Sustainability requires inclusivity and equity in both sense. And when we are talking about the sustainability, there are 3 or 4 dimensions. So social dimension, economic dimensions, environment dimensions, and then governance dimension as well. So while talking about the environment dimension, there is a crisis-like situation in Pakistan. We will see how the gender behaves in those crises. And whenever we call it sustainability, it is difficult to attain while saying it very loud that sustainability is very important. So there's a nexus between gender, inclusivity, and livelihood opportunities. So we'll see that how can we have that. So in Pakistan, almost half of the population are females, right? But if we talk about the literacy rate, there is a gender inequality. There is no gender parity in it. If we talk about the enrollment, whether it's a primary enrollment, secondary enrollment, tertiary enrollment, there is a higher gender inequality. So we cannot achieve sustainable growth for a longer period of time if we do have these kind of gender inequalities. Especially in the rural areas, females are the ones who are taking care of livestock at home. They're working in the fields, they're working outside, and that creates another inequality for them. We are not accounting for their own contributions while they are working for the livestock in the rural area, in the fields, or in the household. So that's a care economy. We are not accounting for their contribution in the GDP or GDP economic growth. So another inequality exists. So while addressing all these issues, we require that we need to ensure gender empowerment or gender inequality addressing in a true sense. Who will do it? Whether it's a policymaker, whether it's a business professional, whether it's a customers, or whether you are the people or the students or the teachers, we all are responsible for it. So having said everything, there's another word which is always used nowadays is resilience other than sustainability. So resilience is very important. At both our core need for the extra attention and investment to prevent crisis. What crisis? Crisis like COVID-19, crisis like floods or the balance of payment crisis, which is economic crisis. And we are right now having a recession in the economy, though we are improving the growth rate. As predicted, this year we will be having 1.9% growth rate. Remember, 2.4% plus is the population growth, and 1.9% is the real GDP growth. So it is a negative per capita GDP growth, which is not good for the economy. So as far as the crisis is concerned, COVID-19 is a bigger crisis where provision of health care for the non-health related, non-COVID related issues was the major concerns, including primary healthcare services for the females, especially for the reproductive health care, child health care, immunization. So all kind of those lockdown, if you remember, the smart lockdowns and travel restrictions has disrupted supply chains for all the immunization and the vaccines, so that creating another inequality as far as the gender is concerned. Pandemic has a significant impact on reproductive health care and newborn kids. So basically, it's a potential shortages of the required medicines. Again, financial resources are diverted from health sector to COVID-19, so that was a major shift. The healthcare professionals, interestingly, are nurses and doctors. So they're all, in such cases, these healthcare professionals are basically exposed to more viruses, whether they are working in the domestic healthcare side, domestic side, or in the hospitals. Again, the pandemic has impacted 42 million school-giving children. In the long run, you can see there's more gender inequality because if 2 years, then their parents will not sending to school because they are the females ones, and they say that, okay, it doesn't matter. Dominating profession again, such as domestic worker, teachers, instructors, uh, and due to those lockdowns and the closures of schools and colleges, they're not going back to the colleges and schools or the universities, and that is a major hurdle even in COVID and in the floods. So again, the labor force participation comes down from maybe 22% to 20%. Similarly, on the flood side, they have also increased issues of the gender inequality in different dimensions. Inside the house, outside the house, working in the field, working with the livestock, and when there are a vulnerable situation of the crisis, they are the one which are the mostly hit. In the scenario of the food insecure, because when the floods come, there are lots of food loss. They are the one who are eating less. So it is this health hazard for them as well as far as the future generation. Just as a reminder, flood contributed lots of loss and damage, and it has 16 million billion dollars. It's $1 billion loss. Those are livestock losses and the livelihood losses. So one thing is very clear here. I'm talking again crisis and gender, that these crises or these climate vulnerabilities are not gender neutral. They are more affecting females than men. This is one of the problems which we are facing, and their role in climatic vulnerability in agriculture sector, in the water usage, sanitation facilities, health, migration, displacement, in every field, in every aspect, females are more vulnerable than males. So these are the things which we need to have realized, and then we have a solution to to address that. And that solution is in the awareness, education, and policy research level. So educating a woman about the climate and its mitigation and adaptation measures, which increase her say in the community, is one way to go. Otherwise, educate her as much as we can. And it's good to have a disaster risk reduction helpline. We call it emergency response helpline or DRR helpline in all the districts. And that's what is happening in Pakistan. That's what I wanted to share with you as well. That we have started out-of-school children in planning commission, in which we are more focusing on the female kids than male kids, more in a different way. We have a gender policy framework at planning commission, which addresses most of the gender-related issues. Having said all this, so we have policies, we have plans, we have projects. What should we do? You are the ones who can aware. You are the one who can sensitize. You are the one who can educate, and we are the one who can do it. So basically, there's one thing which needs real attention, and that is attitude adjustment. If we do not have the attitude adjustment, we cannot start anything. So I'll stop by saying this as this says. So the countdown begins by changing your attitude and start education, especially female. It will help in the crisis and otherwise. Thank you.